What's up, everyone? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So today, I wanted to talk about the Boston Celtics, who are currently down 0-2 in their series against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, obviously in the NBA, you never want to say never, but it's looking like they're pretty much cooked. They kind of kept it close for a while in Game 1, but it ended up being a pretty significant victory. And then Game 2, it was just, wire-to-wire win for the Brooklyn Nets, victory for the Brooklyn Nets. So, obviously you don't want to rule anything out, but I'm operating under the assumption that the Celtics season is going to be over after this first round, whether it's going to be a sweep or in 5 or however that's going to go. But looks like they're gonna be done here pretty soon. This is not a full offseason preview, season recap of sorts like I kind of did last season. We'll get to those over the summer, but I kind of wanted to do more of an immediate sense what this means for the Celtics. So obviously this year has been very disappointing for Boston. They finished with a 500 record. This was a team that was expected to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Instead, they had to go in the play-in tournament, and they ended up making it out of there. They beat the Wizards in that play-in round and were able to secure that 7th spot. But you play the Brooklyn Nets. You run up against a really, really good team, potentially the best team in the conference. I mean, not record-wise, but you can debate whether you think that them or Philly are better. But Brooklyn's really, really good, and they're just a buzzsaw right now. And they're very much expected to win this first round. And Jaylen Brown goes out with that wrist injury that he had to get surgery on, and so he's not going to play for the rest of the season, and he's been ruled out for a while now. And so you're like, okay, well, we tried, we had a solid year, but ultimately things didn't work out. And they had a lot to deal with protocols and stuff, health and safety, and a lot of guys having to miss time. I believe they had the most games in the league missed to health and safety protocols by a lot. So they ended up, struggling all year, and it is just unfortunate. And certainly this team did have higher expectations going into the season. There's no way to beat around that bush there. I had picked Jason Tatum to win the MVP this season. It was a little ambitious on my part, but I just felt like they would be one of the top teams in the conference, and that he was going to have a solid year. He improved a lot between the previous season and last year, and then I felt like he was going to make an even bigger jump going from the bubble into this season now. And he has gotten better. He's gotten a little bit more consistent in ways, but he did miss a lot of time in health and safety, and we know that he kind of dealt with the after effects pretty harshly when he came back from that because he had tested positive, and now he has to use an inhaler and all this stuff, and that's kind of was keeping him out of his rhythm for a while. So Tatum didn't have the season that I quite thought he was going to have, and then Kemba Walker just hasn't looked like himself. At points he showed up and played really well, but clearly those knees are still kind of bothering him, and he's not really the player that he was on the Hornets anymore, which is unfortunate. But, they might have to find a way to trade him, get off his money, however that is going to work. We'll see how it goes with Kemba, because I'm expecting this team to maybe make some moves in the offseason, and Kemba Walker would be a guy that could potentially be out there on the trade market. Jaylen Brown ended with injury, and, he made a big improvement this year, getting himself into the All-Star team and playing really, really well, particularly the first little bit of the season. He was on a tear, just shooting super efficiently and showing what he can do. Absolutely deserved that All-Star appearance, and Jaylen Brown's one of my favorite players. I think he's been really overlooked, I think, by a lot of people, and he had a great season. So him being out with injury certainly does not help them, and that was one of the major reasons that they kind of continued to struggle, because he's had to miss time at points. And then you can also look at other guys like Evan Fournier, who was brought in mid-season, and it just ended up not entirely working out, because he also had to miss time in health and safety protocols and had to, be in and out of the lineup, and he's been inconsistent when he's been back. He's a good, secondary scoring option there. He can get hot kind of coming off the bench there, whether he's starting or whatever. But Fournier is a guy who can, fill it up, and he's going to be a free agent this summer, so we'll have to see what they decide to do for him, because they did give up a couple of picks to get him on the team. So we'll have to see, if they decide to do something about that and decide to bring Fournier back, or whether they're just going to let him walk. Who knows what the paycheck's going to be for him, but we'll have to see with that. And then Marcus Smart is the other guy. He's still under contract. He's obviously their swingman, big piece of what they do. Tristan Thompson as well is a guy they brought in, and he wasn't super great this year. He had some good moments as well, but wasn't super consistent off the bench for them, or whether he was starting or whatever. Time Lord Robert Williams has also had, I think, a pretty solid season. He's improved a lot this year, been getting more consistent minutes. He's great defensively. We saw him have, 9 blocks, I think it was, in game 1 of the series against the Nets there. So he's had a nice young year. I think Peyton Pritchard has a lot of upside as a young guard, has come into the league right away and been effective as, a 3-4 year college player, stepping right away and being able to take a significant role. Aaron Nesmith started getting minutes halfway through the year, and he's performed well. they have quite a bit of young guys on this roster. Tatum's still only, what, like 22, 23? Jaylen Brown's like 24. So they still got a lot of young guys here, and this team definitely has a very bright future, but it is tough to say that this season was a success for them just because of the inconsistency, and relative to expectations, they definitely finished below where a lot of people thought they would. So we'll see if they can make that series against the Nets interesting. I would hope that they can maybe push it to 6 games, 5 or 6 games, if they can kind of get rolling at home and maybe Tatum gets really hot and gets a victory here. But honestly, at this point, I might predict a sweep, if not a 5-game victory for the Brooklyn Nets here. I just think they're completely overmatched, and especially with Jaylen Brown going at it, kind of took away all hope that there was for this to be an actually interesting series. So I'm operating under the assumption the Celtics season is over, and it was disappointing, but it's not the end of the world because they still have a lot of young talent on this roster. A lot of the guys are under contract for multiple seasons. I mean, Tatum's rookie extension is just kicking in, I believe, next season, and Jaylen Brown is, has like 3 seasons left on his deal, I think. So they're fine there. And yeah, I think that's about all I have on the Boston Celtics in their season. I'll do a more in-depth, off-season preview recap for them in a couple of months, or maybe a month or so, whenever I get around to doing that for all 30 teams. But yeah, that's it for the Celtics and where their season's at right now. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring that bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about the Celtics, how their season went, and if you feel like they can make any sort of run, any sort of comeback against the Nets here in this series. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.